Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you are new. Thank you for taking time out of your day to check the video out. We have more PlayStation news, rumors, and leaks to go over and cover here today. So as always, before we dive into this video, if you end up enjoying it or finding it informative, be sure to leave it a like. And if you are new here to the channel, consider hitting that subscribe button as well. We're starting here talking a little bit about Final Fantasy 16. We have some more good news regarding this title. We have an article here from Push Square. The title reads, Final Fantasy 16 is so polished it doesn't need a day one patch. In contrast to the majority of games that release these days, Final Fantasy 16 probably won't have a day one patch. In other words, the development team thinks the game is complete and polished and that it doesn't need any post-ship adjustments. Director Hiroshi Takai told Game Informer that there are currently no plans to update the action RPG at launch, although we obviously wouldn't be surprised if patches start arriving afterwards as players begin providing feedback. Still, it's nice to hear that such a big budget title will be fully playable right out of the box, a genuine rarity in this age of day one fixes. So yeah, I had to be sure to let you guys know about this because this is not something that happens pretty much ever these days, where a game is just so finished and polished that there are no day one patches or updates, and I thought that it was something that was certainly worth sharing with you. But continuing to talk about Final Fantasy 16, I have an article here from PlayStation Lifestyle. It says, contrary to popular belief, Square Enix claims that it approached multiple platforms and publishers for Final Fantasy 16 and landed on PS5 exclusivity because Sony made the best offer. There have been a lot of speculation about Square Enix's relationship with Sony and Microsoft in recent months, and Final Fantasy 16's exclusivity has been hotly debated. Speaking to Game Informer, Yoshida said that Square Enix doesn't develop games with the intention of restricting them to a single platform. However, the company has to look at all available options and weigh out the pros and the cons. Final Fantasy being one of Square Enix's very important franchises, up there with Dragon Quest and the Kingdom Hearts series. When we do begin development, we do approach multiple platforms, multiple companies about releasing the game, Yoshida said, and when you approach them, they're going to come back to us with different offers. While Yoshida understandably didn't divulge details of Square Enix's business deals, he did reveal that in Final Fantasy 16's case, Sony simply came back with the best offer that included access to PlayStation developers and programmers. Yoshida also said that initially limiting games to one platform makes things easier from a developer and programmer perspective. So yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know about this because, you know, the exclusivity for Final Fantasy 16 has been talked about quite a bit, and it's always interesting to get insight like this, especially as candid as this, from developers who work on these games. So there you go. Next up, we have some pretty important updates coming from PlayStation and Jim Ryan. If you're interested in what to expect from PlayStation in the coming months and years, you're definitely going to want to pay attention to this next segment. These are reports coming from Push Square. It says here, Sony has confirmed in a business segment meeting that PlayStation Studios is now planning on releasing 2 or more major PS5 titles every year from now on. These games will come from a mixture of established franchises and new IP, and there'll be a mixture of single-player experiences as well as live service efforts. Sony wants to cover every major genre, but it highlights shooters, racing games, RPGs, platformers, action titles, and sports in particular. In addition, the company plans to further expand onto other platforms to grow audiences, with recent examples being its initiatives on PC and smartphones. In the presentation, Sony highlights the 2 platforms alongside music, books, its PlayStation Productions pipeline, and even theme parks. So Sony is once again giving us a general idea of what we can expect from them each year going forward when it comes to big major PlayStation Studio releases. But on top of that, they gave us an update on PSVR2, and this one was quite surprising because it turns out that the earlier reports we got regarding PSVR2 were completely false, and it just once again goes to show that, you know, people kind of jump on these type of reports, and turns out it just simply wasn't true. So it says here, Sony has today announced in its business segment meeting that PSVR2 sales were just shy of 600,000 units 6 weeks after the February 22nd launch. This means purchases of Sony's latest VR are 8% up on the launch of the original PSVR device across the same release period. The data covers sales through until the beginning of April, so the headset will have surpassed the aforementioned stat as we approach June. For the past couple of weeks, the jury's been out on whether PSVR2 has been selling well or not, with conflicting reports stating things have been off to a slow start, while another paints a rosier picture. What we can now say for sure is that the Bloomberg report claiming 270,000 units has been shipped by the end of March was categorically untrue. Sony had already sold over double by that point, according to the graph above. So, yeah, I definitely wanted to point this out because, as I said, when these reports came out, specifically the one from Bloomberg, many people were quick to jump on it, making it sound like PSVR2 is DOA and it's not going to stand a chance. And it actually is kind of a relief to see that that report was completely wrong because, yeah, that report did not make things look very good at all. And to hear that PSVR2 is not only doing significantly better than what that report had stated, but it's actually doing better than PSVR1. And I think a lot of people look at the launch of PSVR2 as a relatively soft launch. And so once Sony begins to really ramp things up for this headset alongside the PS5, it looks like PSVR2 may actually have a very bright future ahead of it. So had to be sure to let you guys know about that. Moving on from that though, we have some very interesting data regarding PlayStation Plus, some surprising data potentially. So when it comes to PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium, it turns out that more PlayStation Plus subscribers are actually subscribed to the highest tier, that being Premium, at 8 million subscribers. And we have 6.1 million subscribers for PlayStation Plus Extra. This is certainly a surprise because you would have thought that the PS Plus Extra tier would have actually garnered more subscribers than the more expensive Premium tier. And even though Sony has been criticized for how they've handled the classic titles, it seems like, you know, it's doing well enough, or they're doing a good enough job to entice people to just subscribe to the highest Premium PS Plus tier, even to a degree where there's more people actually opting in for that than the extra tier. So yeah, wanted to be sure to let you guys know about this data because, I mean, I wasn't expecting that. And so we'll have to see how Sony continues to grow PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium. But moving on from that, we have some interesting data regarding PlayStation Studios titles on PC. Spider-Man Remastered ended up selling 1.5 million units, and it garnered $52 million in revenue, and The Last of Us Part 1 sold 368,000 units, garnering $15.5 million in revenue. And Sony expects this trend to continue in the future. They're going to remain bullish on PC ports, and they've gone on record stating that the PS5 remains the priority, but that, you know, PC clearly is making money for them, and, you know, releasing these games, it seems like it really depends on what title they're releasing specifically. I mean, putting something like Spider-Man onto PC and gaining 1.5 million additional sales is pretty good, right? Like, that's just extra revenue for them. Jim Ryan did recently just say how they're going to wait about 2 to 3 years, although I don't think that's the case for their live service titles. But yeah, nonetheless, it seems like Sony is relatively satisfied with what they're doing in the PC space, and that's the latest update we have. And then the final bit of information talks about Sony confirming their push into cloud gaming and how they're going to get pretty aggressive with this in the coming years. PlayStation lead Jim Ryan has said Sony will reveal some aggressive cloud gaming plans in the coming months. As of right now, PS5 supports the ability to stream PS3 titles via a PS Plus premium subscription, and the PS Now service before it allowed for the same. Ryan's latest comments suggest it plans on increasing its presence in the cloud gaming space, potentially into the mobile space. The full quote reads via VGC, quote, "We observe mobility and gaming habits to be an increasingly important trend, and the cloud will be fundamental to allowing us, or indeed anybody else, to exploit that trend. Unfortunately, today is not the place for me to disclose these plans, but we do have some fairly interesting and quite aggressive plans to accelerate our initiatives in the space of the cloud that will unfold over the course of the coming months," end quote. So there you go. Jim Ryan's coming out, making it known that while they're not revealing those plans right here, right now. In the coming months, we're going to start to hear Sony talk about their approach to cloud gaming, and it will be interesting to see how they handle this. I mean, this shouldn't come as a surprise. We've known for some time that Sony has been gearing up to do something. I don't know that I'm going to care about it that much because, frankly, it's just not the way I like to play games. But, if Sony is looking to try to expand the brand and reach more people, that's, going to be one of the more effective ways to do that. So we'll see how they handle it and what these aggressive cloud gaming plans end up being. But that's going to do it for the video, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. I hope you found it informative. Be sure to leave it a like if you did. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit the bell notification icon and feel free to share the video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.